Saiyans and Viltrumites are some of the most powerful alien races to ever exist within the world of fiction, and possess many similarities, such as their dwindling numbers, a desire towards battle, and conquering numerous planets throughout the universe. This brings up the question on what if these two races came into conflict with one another. Would the Viltrum Empire vanquish planet Vegeta, or would the primal power of the Saiyans annihilate their Viltrumite invaders? For this matchup, we shall be using both armies at their peaks, that being Viltrum before the Scourge virus, and planet Vegeta before its destruction at the hands of Frieza. So with those guidelines in place, let's see which alien race will come out on top. Despite terrorizing and conquering numerous worlds throughout the galaxy, the Saiyans are a bit lacking when it comes to numbers. Their population only comes up to around a few thousand even on planet Vegeta, which seems relatively consistent as the Saiyans were stated to make up around half of the Frieza force, which could gather over 1,000 soldiers when they invaded the Earth. However, the warrior race isn't known for their overwhelming numbers, but rather for their literal planet-shattering power. Even Raditz, who is considered to be at the lowest level for a Saiyan, is stated to have a battle power of 1500. While this is pretty insignificant compared to anything past the Saiyan saga, it still makes him several times stronger than Piccolo at the start of Z. Upon witnessing Gohan's Great Ape transformation, Piccolo decides it would be best to destroy the moon to cancel out his form, which he does with a rather casual ki blast. The relativistic speed of the debris puts this feat at large planet level, with Raditz not only stonewalling the same attack, but also surpassing it by 5 times over. So most Saiyans should reside within that large planetary tier, but of course, this would only be the power of your average Saiyan. King Vegeta, when wreaking havoc across space, casually annihilated 3 planets just by waving his hand, with the energy result being calculated in the dwarf star level range. Vegeta has also had his own fair share of feats, violently detonating the planet Arlia to the point where the blast expanded several times beyond the planet's radius, putting this feat at small star level. Both Bardock and Nappa should also reside within this tier, with Nappa being a rival to base Goku, and Bardock having a power level around 10,000, making them about half as strong as Vegeta. In terms of speed, even low-class Saiyan should at the bare minimum be approaching the speed of light, as Piccolo in early Z managed to hit the moon in a few seconds, which would require him to be moving around 50% the speed of light. His father has also been stated to have light-based attacks in El Manga Legendario, with Kid Goku dodging them on several occasions. Going off of this, the Saiyan should easily be several times the speed of light, with more elite Saiyans such as Nappa and Vegeta scaling over this by several times over. Vegeta in specific should be in the same ballpark as Goku early on during his trip to Namek, who dodged meteors while outside of his MFTL ship, with calcs putting him at around 150 million times the speed of light. Aside from their superb physical abilities, most Saiyans also possess pretty standard ki techniques, such as flight, ki blasts, and barriers. However, upon looking at a full moon, Saiyans can transform into great apes, multiplying their power by 10 times their base form. In the case that a full moon isn't available, elite Saiyans such as Vegeta can create artificial moons that can also trigger the transformation. However, it can easily be cancelled out either by ripping off their tails or just destroying the moon. Their numbers may be small, but they possess some of the greatest physical abilities compared to every other species within Dragon Ball. After all, they were able to frighten the literal Emperor of the Universe and gave birth to 2 of the strongest fighters the multiverse has ever seen. As Vegeta himself has said, Saiyans have no limits. Viltrumites are arguably the greatest threat the Invincible universe has ever seen, having conquered thousands of worlds across the galaxy and are single-handedly capable of wiping out entire civilizations. In their heyday, their forces were capable of spreading all throughout the galaxy until Thetis unleashed the Scourge virus upon their homeworld. So many Viltrumites succumbed to the disease that it formed a ring around their planet, which would require at least 20 quadrillion bodies to be orbiting around Viltrum. The strength of each individual Viltrumite is a bit controversial due to the many different low and high ends that could be made, but they should at the very least be multi-continental, as there are many feats of characters casually shrugging off or generating attacks of that caliber. Mark, in the 5th chapter of the series, slams Alan the alien into the moon at relatively 6 speeds, generating anywhere from 10 to the 25 to 10 to the 28 joules of energy. Mark has also managed to shrug off the explosion of a super nuke capable of generating the largest solar flare in history. Solar flares on average yield around country levels worth of energy, but the largest ever recorded have generated around 10 to the 26 joules of energy, with Mark stonewalling a nuke capable of generating a stronger blast. Even the corpses of Viltrumites that were orbiting around Viltrum were able to take the whiplash of the planet's explosion, which would require multi-continental levels of durability. However, there are many implications that Viltrumites are capable of much higher levels of power. During the climax of the Viltrumite War, Mark, Nolan, and Thetis shatter through Viltrum's core and obliterate the bottom half of Viltrum with enough force to shatter small planets. However, it can also be argued that they could have obliterated Viltrum even without Space Racer's assistance, as Robert Kirkman has gone out and said that he wanted to show their power by having them blow up Viltrum, with him also saying that Viltrumites possess celestial body-shattering power in that same interview. While Thetis does state that they could die upon impacting the core, this could be due to being exposed to the core's immense heat rather than its toughness, as even Thrag and End of Series Mark have been shown to be extremely vulnerable when faced with extreme temperatures. Scaling them to the power of the planet's detonation would put them in the planet to large planetary range. This is actually pretty consistent, as in the canon Invincible Tick crossover, Invincible and Tick managed to ram a moon into Mars, which has been calced to large planet level. While Mark and Omni-Man definitely are stronger than the average Viltrumite, they are still shown struggling with some of Thrag's soldiers, so most Viltrumites still should reside within this planetary tier. Speed is probably a Viltrumite's most well-known attribute, as there are many examples of characters traversing solar systems and even galaxies. Omni-Man, after leaving Earth, manages to travel to Thraxia in a week's time, which would require Nolan to be moving around 228 times the speed of light. However, even non-Viltrumites have been shown reaching similar levels of speed, with Alan the alien regularly traversing across solar systems in search of strong allies that can take down a Viltrumite. The series' best showing, though, involves Mark outspeeding the Coalition's fastest ship, which can travel from Teleskia to Earth in a week's time, with Earth being located in a completely separate galaxy. This would require speeds upwards of 3.6 million times the speed of light. Of course, people will often argue that this is only applicable to their travel speed, but this is just not the case. Thrag managed to react to Omni-Man bull rushing him, Conquest was able to track and intercept one of the Coalition ships, and many characters have reacted to shots from Space Racer, which can outpace Mark's travel speed. Space Racer is also incapable of keeping up with Battle Beast and Thrag, even though he's fully capable of tracking one of Thrag's children while navigating through an asteroid field. In addition to superhuman strength and speed, Viltrumites also possess extreme levels of endurance and stamina due to their smart atom DNA. This allows them to fight for literal days on end, with the Invincible databook even stating that Omni-Man possesses inexhaustible stamina. Viltrumites can also hold their breath for weeks on end, allowing them to survive and fight in the vacuum of space for an extended period of time. It really shows that when it comes down to it, the Viltrumites may really be invincible. When analyzing the stats of both sides, I think the Viltrumites are probably too much for the Saiyans to handle. While the average Saiyan is still probably more powerful than your typical Viltrumite, especially when utilizing Great Ape, both armies still reside within that large planetary tier, with Viltrumites being far faster even when using their lowest ends. They also just vastly outnumber Saiyans by approximately 2 trillion to 1 and have more than enough endurance to outlast them. Even their power advantage can easily be negated by just grabbing their tails, as Nappa and Vegeta seem to be some of the only Saiyans who have overcame that weakness, as Raditz is still shown to be completely immobilized by Goku squeezing his tail. However, when it comes to dealing with elite Saiyans such as Vegeta, Nappa, or Bardock, things are a bit different. All three of them are vastly more powerful, with Vegeta having calcs putting him at dwarf to possibly star levels of power, and only being 2 times slower than the Viltrumites, with that gap only shrinking when using Great Ape, effectively negating Viltrum's main advantage. The elite Saiyans of planet Vegeta are just far too powerful for the Viltrum army to overcome under a normal scenario. The winner is planet Vegeta.